supposed to be the happiest time of your life, having your first child. But a little over 6 years ago, when I was supposed to be in the newborn bubble, enjoying cuddles and that sweet, fresh new baby smell, I found myself in a mental health unit on 15-minute suicide checks, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with my 3-week-old baby right beside me. In the 3 weeks after giving birth, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't enjoy time with my baby. I was constantly worried that something was wrong with her, constantly checking her reflexes, constantly Googling to see what I should be doing, and feeling completely lost and overwhelmed. I became an expert on breastfeeding, but quickly discovered that knowing everything about breastfeeding, but not actually being able to breastfeed, broke me completely. The scariest thing was that I didn't even realize that I was unwell. I thought that what I was experiencing, the round-the-clock anxiety, the excessive worrying and constant checking in on my daughter, was completely normal, all just part of being a first-time mum. After the anxiety, I experienced an overwhelming numbness. I would stare out into the far distance and just fantasize about disappearing completely. I told my husband to lock the medicine cupboard, just in case. My husband knew that something was wrong, seriously wrong. He took me to the hospital, and I did not come home for a month. While I was in hospital, I was put on a cocktail of medication to help me sleep. My bags were searched, and the shower curtain in my room was held up with magnets, lest someone tried to use it as a noose. I spent my waking hours convinced that the old Megan was gone, that she had died and she was never coming back. My daughter was cared for overnight by nurses so that I could sleep. I wasn't alone. In fact, I was surrounded by other women. 15 other women and their babies were on the ward with me. Evidently, I wasn't the only one for whom what was supposed to be the happiest time of their life was proving anything but. It was truly the worst experience of my life, something I would not wish on my worst enemy. But would I change it if I could? If I could turn back the clock? No. And now, 6.5 years since my hospitalization, and with 2 happy and healthy children at home, I've grown to become thankful for the experience that Nellie took my life. Now, it might surprise you to hear that I'm thankful for such a horrible experience, but it turns out that for people like me who have experienced trauma, nearly half of us report some positive changes in our lives as a result. For me, it's taught me a lot about trust. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I was at my most unwell, my mind, my thoughts, and my feelings simply could not be trusted. I didn't know what was best for me, but other people did. And while my hospitalization and illness was truly terrifying, 3 years later, I decided to do something arguably even more terrifying: have another baby. And so when I decided to do this, to fall pregnant and have another child, I made a conscious decision to outsource my trust and decision-making to the people who did know what was best for me the first time around. My husband, my psychiatrist, my psychologist, my obstetrician, and my pediatrician. If they told me to sleep, I slept. If they told me to take medication, I took it. And if they told me that I was doing a good job, I believed them. Now, I suspect we all know that we can't always trust our own judgment. But to knowingly and consciously outsource decisions about my health and my care into the hands of other people, well, that was an act of vulnerability. And it turns out that I was right to trust them, because when I gave birth to my second child, a beautiful baby boy, I did not become unwell. Next, my experience has shown me a strength and resolve in myself that I never knew I had. Recovery is long and slow. I have spent countless hours processing my experience with my psychiatrist and my psychologist, and I've been forced to confront, understand, and examine parts of myself, and sometimes very, very ugly parts of myself that I never knew existed. For years afterwards, I couldn't walk through a shopping centre food court and see women breastfeeding without crying and staring like a complete weirdo. Every negative emotion that I experienced, I would cross-examine with microscopic detail. I'm feeling worried. Why am I feeling worried? Should I be feeling worried? Would a normal person feel worried about this? Now I'm feeling worried about being worried. Am I getting sick again? It was completely exhausting. Recovery is boring and repetitive. Eat well, exercise, have breakfast every day, brush your teeth every day, brush your hair every day, get dressed every day. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. I wish there was a quick fix, a silver bullet, but there isn't. I spent a really long time asking why. Why did this happen to me? I did everything right during my pregnancy. I went to all the classes, I read all the books, I ate all the right things. What did I do to deserve this? And then one day it hit me. There was no reason why. I had done nothing wrong. It wasn't my fault. I found this revelation completely liberating. It freed my mind from fixating on and analysing the past. It got me out of the what if time warp and allowed me to focus on the what now, what next. I have proof that I can make it through hard things. And this is the third thing that I am thankful for. Knowing that I can make it through hard things has opened me up to a world of possibility of doing brave and crazy things like this TEDx talk. Things I never would have dreamed of doing before. And that included starting a jigsaw puzzle business in the middle of COVID. Yes, you heard that correctly. I started a jigsaw puzzle business in the middle of COVID. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have been in a mental health unit before, but one of the only activities that you're allowed to do is jigsaw puzzles. And when COVID started, a pandemic of another kind also started, a jigsaw puzzle buying pandemic. Now, me and the other mums that I'd met in the mental health unit, well, we liked jigsaw puzzles before they were cool. So we weren't too happy with all of you for buying up every single jigsaw puzzle in the country. But I had a light bulb moment. Jigsaw puzzles would be the vehicle for me to tell my story. Now, up until this point, I hadn't shared my story too widely beyond family and close friends, but I had a strong sense that I was ready to start talking. And I realised that I could connect my experience of doing jigsaw puzzles in the mental health unit to the story that I wanted to tell. Now, at this point, it's probably worth noting that I had exactly zero experience in product design or importing or starting and running my own business, but my life in the preceding few years had been quite the adventure, so I thought to myself, oh, well, why not? Now, starting a business meant committing to sharing my story. My worst moments broadcast to friends, strangers, colleagues. Would I be judged, ridiculed, treated differently? Would I lose my job? I shared my story on my website, on social media, and on the puzzle boxes themselves. I hand-wrote thank you cards to every single person who bought a jigsaw puzzle from me. And I'm happy to say that I experienced nothing but an outpouring of love and support. Strangers shared with me, I just wanted to tell you how much I loved doing my jigsaw puzzle. Since my son died, I've spent many hours doing jigsaw puzzles to help with my grief. And your puzzle helped to ease my sadness while I was concentrating on finding the right pieces. A colleague told me that she'd sought out therapy for the first time, that I was the first person she'd ever seen speak openly about their mental health in the workplace without being punished for it. Friends cried with me. I sold thousands of puzzles. And I donated part of the proceeds to support the 1 in 5 women and the 1 in 10 men who are impacted by perinatal mental illness in Australia every year. Caring for myself first was the best thing that I have done for me and my children. My daughter was with me through the darkest days of my life. She never left my side. We can get through anything together. My son is a little healer and peace bringer. I'm a really good mum. I think the old Megan did die in that mental health unit. But she came back. Stronger, softer, kinder, more vulnerable, more thankful, more intimate. I can trust. I can do hard things. I can do brave things. I can share my story. And so can you.